I never thought I'd be the kind of guy who loses everything because of one terrible choice. My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 42, live in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio, work as a mechanical inspector at a plant that's been here longer than I have, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had a good marriage. Not perfect, what marriage is. But solid. The kind where you fall into routines so natural they feel like breathing, morning coffee together, her hand on my shoulder as she passes by, Sunday drives with the windows down and no destination. Her name was Claire. And yeah, she cheated on me. But the truth, the whole truth, is messier than that. Because when I found out, something in me broke. Not just the trust, not just the image of us as this ordinary, decent couple building a life. Something deeper. And instead of walking away, or confronting her, or trying to fix things, I made a decision I've regretted every single day since. And now I'm sitting here in a rented room above a laundromat, writing all of this down because I don't know who else to tell it to. Because maybe if I get it out, I'll understand how things went so wrong. It started with a text message. I still remember the exact time I saw it. 3:47 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. I was standing in the break room at work, pouring lukewarm coffee into a paper cup, when my phone buzzed against the counter. It wasn't Claire calling, she rarely called during the day, but her name popped up in a text thread I didn't recognize. At first, I thought maybe she'd sent something to the wrong number. That happens. We all messed up sometimes. But then I read it. Miss you already. Last night was perfect. Can't wait for Friday. And below that, a heart emoji. Not just any heart. A red one. The kind kids use. The kind lovers use. The kind married women don't send to someone who isn't their husband. My hand froze around the coffee cup. The liquid sloshed over the edge, burning my fingers, but I didn't feel it. All I could see was that message. That stupid little heart. It wasn't addressed to me. And it wasn't signed. But it didn't need to be. I stared at the screen like it might change if I looked long enough. Like the words would rearrange themselves into something harmless. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe someone hacked her phone. Maybe she was texting a friend about a spa day or a girls' night out and Friday meant dinner with the girls. But even as I made up excuses, I knew. That heart wasn't for friendship. That last night wasn't spent watching Netflix on the couch in our basement. No, last night, Claire had told me she was working late. Budget meeting with the department heads, she said. Might grab dinner with Jen from HR. Nothing unusual. She does that every few weeks. So I stayed home. Fixed myself a frozen lasagna. Watched half an episode of The Crown. Fell asleep on the couch. Woke up around 10, went to bed alone. She got home after midnight. Whispered, hey, when she came upstairs. Kissed my shoulder. Said she was tired. Rolled over. And now this. I stood there in the break room, surrounded by the hum of the vending machine and the smell of burnt popcorn, and felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I didn't move for a full minute. Then I walked back to my station, no coffee, no explanation, and sat down at my desk, hands shaking. I opened my phone again, scrolled up through the thread. There were more messages. You taste like wine. Wish you were here right now. I think about you between meetings. It's dangerous. And photos. Not explicit, nothing pornographic, but intimate. A close-up of a man's hand resting on what looked like her thigh. A blurry shot of 2 wine glasses on a hotel table. A selfie of her in a bathroom mirror, smiling, hair messy, lips slightly swollen. She looked different. Younger. Freer. I closed the phone. Put it face down on the desk. Tried to breathe. But I couldn't. My chest was tight. My vision blurred at the edges. I felt nauseous. Humiliated. Stupid. How long had this been going on? How many nights had she lied? How many times had she kissed me while thinking of him? Who was he? I wanted to call her. Scream. Demand answers. But I didn't. Because part of me, the weak part, the afraid part, was already bargaining. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe I could pretend I never saw it. Maybe I could just forget. But that's not how truth works. It doesn't go away because you want it to. I didn't go home that night. I told my supervisor I wasn't feeling well. Took the rest of the day off. Drove around for hours. Listened to old music. Pulled over at a gas station outside Newark and sat in the parking lot, staring at the flickering fluorescent lights above the pumps. I kept opening her messages. Closing them. Opening them again. Like I was punishing myself. I thought about driving to her office. Confronting her. But what would I say? Hey, I was snooping through your text and found proof you're sleeping with someone else. Was I even allowed to do that? Wasn't her phone private? Technically, yes. But we shared everything, bank accounts, insurance, passwords, dreams. Or I thought we did. And now this. I tried to trace back when things started changing. Because they had. Over the past year, Claire had become distant. Not cold. Not angry. Just elsewhere. She used to leave notes on the fridge. Got milk. Or I love you, smiley face in her looping handwriting. Then it stopped. She used to ask about my day. Now she'd nod and say, while scrolling through Instagram. We used to have sex once a week, sometimes more. Now it was rare. When we did, it felt mechanical. Like she was checking a box. I told myself it was stress. Work had gotten harder for her. She was up for a promotion. Deadlines. Pressure. And I let it go. Because I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous husband, the insecure one, always demanding attention. So I gave her space. Too much space, apparently. Now I wondered, had she already been with him when she stopped writing notes? When she stopped asking about my day? When she stopped touching me like she meant it? Had she been planning this for months? Yes. I thought about our wedding. 10 years ago, in a backyard garden in Dayton. Sunlight through the trees. Her in a simple white dress. Me in a rented tux that pinched under the arms. Our parents crying. Her sister playing guitar and singing, I will follow you into the dark. We promised forever. And I believed it. Not blindly. Not naively. But because I loved her. Because we'd built something real. A house. A dog. A life. We talked about kids once. Decided not to. Let's enjoy us first, she said. We've got time. We didn't talk about it anymore. Now I wondered if she'd stopped wanting that future, or just stopped wanting it with me. I finally drove home around midnight. The house was dark. Quiet. I crept upstairs, stripped off my clothes, and slipped into bed beside her. She stirred slightly, mumbled something, then turned away. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breath. I wanted to wake her up. I wanted to whisper, did you sleep with him tonight? I wanted to scream, why aren't you telling me? But I didn't. Instead, I reached over and gently moved a strand of hair from her face. She looked peaceful. Beautiful. And for a second, I forgot everything. Forgot the messages. Forgot the lies. I just saw the woman I fell in love with. And I hated myself for still loving her. The next morning, she acted normal. Morning, she said, pouring orange juice. Hey, I replied, voice flat. She glanced at me. You okay? You look tired. I didn't sleep well. Oh? Bad dreams. Something like that. She shrugged, grabbed her back, kissed my cheek. Love you. Talk later. And just like that, she was gone. Left me sitting at the kitchen table with my coffee and my silence. I waited until her car pulled out of the driveway. Then I went to her phone. She left it charging on the counter. I picked it up. Unlocked it, her passcode hadn't changed in years. Our anniversary date. I opened the messages again. Scrolled through the whole thread. His name was Mark. Mark Reynolds. He worked in her department. Senior analyst. Married. 2 kids. Of course he was married. Of course. They'd been texting for 3 months. Meetings turned into lunches. Lunches turned into after-work drinks. Drinks turned into hotel rooms. Friday nights. Weekends away. Conferences in Cincinnati. All while I microwaved dinners and watched TV alone. I found a photo she'd deleted but hadn't cleared from the cache, a picture of them lying in bed together, sheets tangled, sunlight streaming through the blinds. Her head on his chest. His arm around her. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Then I did something I regretted immediately. I took a screenshot. Not because I wanted proof, but because I needed to hurt. I wanted to carry that image with me. Let it fester. Let it poison me. Because if she could live with this secret, then so could I, with mine. I didn't confront her that week. I played along. Asked about her day. Laughed at her jokes. Made dinner. Watched movies. Held her hand. All while knowing. Every touch felt like a lie. Every I love you tasted like ash. But I said it back. Because I was a coward. And because I was waiting. For what, I didn't know. Clarity. Justice. A sign. Or maybe I was just waiting to decide what kind of man I was going to be. The one who walks away with dignity. Or the one who fights dirty. By Friday, I'd done something worse. I followed her. Not in a creepy, stalker way, at least, that's what I told myself. I just happened to drive past her office around 6. Saw her car still there. Waited. 30 minutes later, a silver Honda pulled up. Man in his late 30s, nice jacket, gym bag in the back. He got out. They hugged. Not a friendly hug. A long one. Her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. They got in his car and drove off. I followed at a distance. They went to a hotel. Not some seedy place on Route 36. A nice one. Courtyard by Marriott. Discreet. Clean. I parked across the street, engine off, windows up. Sat there for 2 hours. Didn't get out. Didn't call. Didn't cry. Just watched. When they left, around 8, I followed them again. He dropped her off a block from our house. She walked the rest of the way. Smiling. Light steps. Like she hadn't just betrayed her vows. Like she hadn't just shattered 10 years of trust. I waited until she was inside. Then I drove home. She greeted me like nothing had happened. Long day, she said, kicking off her shoes. Want to order Thai? Sure, I said. We ate on the couch. She told me about a new project at work. I nodded and smiled. Later, we went to bed. She rode toward me. Kissed my neck. I froze. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. Just tired. She sighed, rolled back over. I lay awake, staring at the wall. And for the first time, I thought I could make her feel this. Not the pain, maybe not yet. But the doubt. The fear. The slow erosion of trust. What if I did exactly what she did? Not because I wanted someone else. But because I wanted her to know. To feel, even for a second, what it's like to love someone who's slipping away. I didn't plan it. Not at first. But opportunity has a way of finding broken men. Her name was Rachel. She worked at the diner near my plant, Sandy's Grill. Friendly. Mid-30s. Divorced. Waited on me every Thursday morning during my shift change. Always remembered my order, eggs over easy, with toast, extra bacon. Always joked about the weather. One day, she said, "You look like you carry the world on your shoulders." I laughed. Just another day. You ever just want to walk away from it all? I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel alone. We started talking more. Then texting. Nothing flirty. Just human. She told me about her divorce. How her husband had cheated. How it destroyed her. I didn't tell her about Claire. But I listened. And slowly, I leaned. One night, after a double shift, I stopped in. It was late. Almost closing. She was wiping down tables. "You look beat," she said. "I am. You want a slice of pie?" On the house. I sat. We talked. An hour passed. Then she said, "You know, you don't have to suffer quietly." I looked at her. And before I could stop myself, I said, "She's cheating on me." Rachel froze. Then she sat down across from me. I told her everything. Not all of it. Not the screenshots. Not the stalking. But the text. The lies. The hotel. She didn't judge me. She just listened. And when I finished, she said, "I'm so sorry." That was it. But those 3 words cracked something open. I started going to the diner more often. Sometimes just to see her. We didn't cross any lines. No touching. No dates. But we talked. And for a while, it felt like breathing again. Then one night, she invited me to a concert, some local band playing at a bar downtown. "I need moral support," she said. "My ex might be there." I said yes. We had a few drinks. Laughed. Danced a little. Afterward, we walked to her car. She turned to me, smiled. "Thanks for coming. You're good company." And then she kissed me. On the cheek. But it lingered. And I didn't pull away. I went home that night and stood in the shower for 20 minutes, scrubbing my skin like I could wash it off. But I went back the next week. And the week after. And each time, it got harder to pretend I wasn't falling for her. Not because she was better than Claire. She wasn't. But because she saw me. While Claire looked through me. I didn't sleep with Rachel. I never crossed that line. But I let her believe there could be something. I texted her late at night. Called her babe once by accident. Held her hand when we walked to her car. And I didn't correct her when she said, "I think we could be really good together." Because part of me wanted it to be true. But most of me just wanted Claire to know. So I did the unthinkable. I left my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter, on the text thread with Rachel. Just for a few minutes. Long enough for Claire to see. And she did. I could tell the moment she walked in. Her face went pale. She didn't say anything. But her hands trembled when she set her keys down. That night, she asked, "Who's Rachel?" I played dumb. "Oh, just a girl from the diner." "Why?" "She texted you, 'Good night, sweetheart.'" "That's just how she talks," I said. "She's friendly." Claire stared at me. And for the first time in months, I saw fear in her eyes. Not guilt. Fear. Because now the game had changed. Now she was the one wondering. Was I cheating? Was I leaving? Was I capable of hurting her the way she hurt me? And I let her wonder. I didn't reassure her. I didn't deny it. I just let the silence speak. And it screamed. The next few days were tense. We moved through the house like strangers. Polite. Careful. No fights. No accusations. But the air was thick with unspoken words. Then, on Sunday, she broke. We were folding laundry in the bedroom. Out of nowhere, she said, "Are you seeing someone?" I folded a shirt. "No. You're lying." I looked at her. "Funny. That's what I thought when you said the same thing." She flinched. "It's been 3 months, Claire. 3 months of lies. Hotel rooms. Text. Smiles for him and silence for me." Her eyes filled. "It didn't mean anything." "Bullshit," I said. "You don't fake orgasms for something that doesn't mean anything." She gasped. "I saw the photo," I said. "On your phone." She sank onto the bed. "Daniel. I'm so sorry." "Sorry." I laughed. Hollow. Broken. Is that supposed to fix it? You think sorry erases everything? "I was lonely," she whispered. "You were so distant." I felt invisible. "And that makes it okay." "No. But I was lost. And he was there. And I made a terrible choice." "A choice," I repeated. "Not a mistake. A choice." She started crying. I didn't comfort her. I just stood there. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to forgive her. Not because I didn't still love her. But because I wanted to hurt her back. And that scared me more than anything. Because the man I used to be, the one who wrote love notes, who held doors, who believed in loyalty, would never wish pain on someone he loved. But this man was capable of anything. That night, I dreamed I killed him. Mark. In the dream, I waited outside his house. When he came home, I stepped out of the shadows. No gun. No knife. Just my hands. I pinned him against the garage door. He begged. I didn't care. I choked him until his face turned blue. And when he was gone, I looked down and saw Claire's face instead. I woke up sweating. Heart racing. Guilt flooding in. I went to the bathroom. Looked in the mirror. Dark circles. Unshaven. Eyes hollow. I barely recognized myself. I thought about calling it off. Ending the silent war. Walking away clean. But then I remembered the photo. Her smile. His arm. The hotel. And the rage came back. Not hot. Cold. Quiet. Deadly. Monday morning, Claire called in sick. She stayed in bed all day. I brought her tea. Sat beside her. She looked at me. Do you hate me? I don't know, I said. I used to think I couldn't hate you. Now I'm not sure. She turned away. That evening, I got a text from Rachel. Thinking of you. Hope you're okay. I almost replied. Then I deleted the message. Blocked her number. It wasn't fair to her. She didn't deserve to be a pawn. But I didn't tell Claire. Let her keep wondering. Let her imagine the worst. Because now I understood something fundamental about pain. It doesn't heal by being returned. It spreads. Like a virus. And once it takes hold, it changes you. A week passed. Silence. Then, on Saturday, Claire handed me an envelope. Inside was a key. To a storage unit, she said. Unit 12B, Northridge Storage. I want you to see it. See what? Just go. I drove there that afternoon. The unit was small. Dim light. And inside. Boxes. Photos. Letters. Clothes. Our lives, packed in cardboard. But in the center, on a folding table, sat a laptop. I turned it on. A folder labeled Truth was on the desktop. I clicked it. Videos. Recordings. Of me. At the diner. With Rachel. Laughing. Touching her arm. Kissing her cheek. An audio, our conversations, recorded without my knowledge. Then a document titled Confession. I opened it. If you're reading this, Daniel, then I know you found my messages to Mark. And I don't blame you for wanting revenge. But I need you to understand, I didn't start this. He did. He pursued me. Told me you didn't appreciate me. Said you were cold. Distant. That you'd already checked out of the marriage. I resisted. 4 months. But loneliness, it wears you down. And when I finally gave in, I regretted it instantly. But by then, he had recordings. Blackmailed me. Threatened to send them to you unless I kept seeing him. I was trapped. I didn't know how to tell you. I was ashamed. Scared. So I stayed quiet. But now I'm done hiding. The videos are evidence. I've reported him. The police have copies. I'm filing for divorce. Not because I want to leave you. But because I can't live with secrets anymore. I love you, Daniel. I always have. And I'm so sorry I failed us. I sat back. Stunned. The room spun. Mark hadn't just been her lover. He'd been her captor. And I had become the monster I thought he was. I drove home in a daze. Claire was packing a suitcase. I'm staying with my sister, she said. I dropped the envelope on the bed. She looked at it. Nodded. You believe me, she asked. I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. Not yet. But for the first time since I saw that first text, I wasn't sure who the villain was. Or if there even was one. Only damage. Only choices. Only love, broken, battered, but still beating. And the hardest question of all. Can something so fractured ever be whole again? I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of our bed, my bed now, with Claire's letter open beside me, staring at the same paragraph over and over like if I read it enough times, it would either make sense or stop being real. He pursued me. Blackmailed me. I was trapped. It sounded like something out of a crime drama. Not my life. Not Claire's. But the videos were real. The audio recordings were real. And the fear in her voice when she handed me that envelope, it wasn't performative. That kind of exhaustion, that kind of shame, can't be faked. Still. How could I believe her? Because 3 months ago, I believed in our marriage. I believed in loyalty. I believe that when someone says forever, they mean it, even when things get hard. And then I saw that text. Miss you already. Last night was perfect. With a heart. And now she's telling me it wasn't desire, it was coercion. That Mark Reynolds didn't just seduce her, but controlled her. I wanted to believe her. God, how I wanted to. But belief isn't a switch you flip. It's a bridge built plank by plank, and every plank has to hold weight. And right now, the ground beneath me felt like sand. I drove to the police station the next morning. Not because I trusted Claire yet. But because I needed proof. Not her word. Not her emotions. Evidence. I asked for Detective Reyes, the name on the case report she'd included in the folder. A printed email from the precinct confirming receipt of her statement, dated 10 days before she gave me the key. They sent me to a small room with beige walls and a metal table bolted to the floor. Reyes showed up 10 minutes late, coffee in hand, mid-40s, tired eyes, salt and pepper hair clipped short. She listened as I explained who I was, why I was there. She didn't interrupt. Didn't roll her eyes. Just nodded slowly, sipped her coffee, and said, "You're the husband." Yes. She told us you might come. And she opened the file. Slid 2 printed photos across the table. One was surveillance footage from a hotel parking lot, grainy, timestamped March 14th, 8:17 p.m. Claire getting into Mark's car. The second was a still from inside a restaurant booth. Mark leaning close, hand on her wrist. Claire pulling back slightly. Her face tense. This came from her phone, Rhea said. She recorded several conversations. We have 6 hours of audio. In 4 of them, he threatens to send explicit photos to you unless she continues the relationship. He also told her he'd tell HR she harassed him if she went public. My stomach dropped. He had photos. Nude images. One full body shot, taken without her consent during an overnight trip last winter. She thought they were just going to a conference. He waited until she fell asleep, took the picture, then showed it to her the next morning. Said, "Wouldn't want your husband seeing this, would we?" I closed my eyes. I remembered that trip. She came home drained. Quiet. Said the meetings were exhausting. I made her tea. Rubbed her shoulders. Never once did I think, wait. What really happened? And now I wondered, had she wanted to tell me? Had she tried? But I was too busy being the stoic husband, the easygoing guy, the man who doesn't make a big deal out of things. So she stayed silent. Out of shame. Out of fear. And I punished her for it. By flirting with Rachel. By leaving my phone open. By letting her think I was the one cheating. I had become the very thing I hated. Reyes watched me. You okay? I nodded. Couldn't speak. She slid another document over. A warrant. They'd seized Mark's phone, laptop, cloud storage. They found the photo. They found messages, "You belong to me, don't even think about ending this, you regret it." They found drafts of emails addressed to me. Thought you might want to see what your wife looks like naked. Attached, the image. I looked away. How long has this been going on? I asked. According to Claire, the non-consensual photo was January 12th. First threatening message was February 3rd. The affair technically began January 13th, the night after the photo was taken. She says she tried to end it the next day. He threatened her. I exhaled. All those nights she came home late. All those times she seemed distant. She wasn't thinking about him with longing. She was terrified of him. And I, her husband, had withdrawn instead of drawing closer. Because I didn't want to seem clingy. Because I didn't want to be that guy. Because I valued peace over connection. And while I was trying not to burden her, she was drowning. And I didn't notice. I left the station numb. Drove aimlessly. Ended up at Sandy's Grill. Rachel wasn't working. I sat in the booth where we talked so many times. Ordered black coffee. The new waitress didn't know me. I stared at the seat across from me, the one Rachel used to sit in, and realized something. I hadn't fallen in love with her. I'd fallen in love with the idea of being seen. Of mattering. Of not being invisible. And Rachel, kind, wounded, open Rachel, had become a mirror for my loneliness. But I never really saw her. Not the way I should have. I used her. Not sexually. But emotionally. I let her hope. I let her care. And when it served my purpose, making Claire jealous, I leaned into it. And when it became inconvenient, I vanished. Blocked her number. Left her wondering what she'd done wrong. I pulled out my phone. Unblocked her. Typed. Hey. It's Daniel. I'm sorry I disappeared. Can we talk? 3 dots appeared. Then stopped. 20 minutes later, a reply. I don't think that's a good idea. You hurt me. And I think you're still hurting. I hope you get help. But I need to protect myself now. I read it 3 times. Then put the phone down. She was right. I was still hurting. And I dragged her into it. Another person damaged by my silence. By my pride. By my refusal to face the truth. I went home. Claire's suitcase was gone. Her side of the closet, emptied. Toothbrush removed. But her favorite mug, the cheap blue one with the sunflower, still sat in the cupboard. I made tea in it. Sat at the kitchen table. Looked around. This house, we bought it 5 years ago. 2 bedrooms, small yard, fixer-upper with charm. We painted the living room together. Sandblasted the hardwood floors on weekends. Planted lavender along the walkway. We were building a life. And now it felt like a museum. A monument to what used to be. I pulled out Claire's letter again. Read it from the beginning. This time, I noticed things I hadn't before. The way she described Mark's voice, low, calm, almost polite when he threatened her. The way he'd bring her small gifts, a book she mentioned once, a chocolate bar from her childhood town, as if kindness could cancel out cruelty. The way he'd apologize after each threat, say he didn't mean to scare her, that he loved her too much to let her go. Classic coercive control. I'd read about it. Seen documentaries. Never thought it could happen to someone like Claire. Strong. Smart. Independent. But abuse doesn't care about strength. It exploits vulnerability. And loneliness is one of the deepest vulnerabilities of all. She hadn't cheated because she stopped loving me. She'd been trapped. And I, her husband, had responded not with support, but with retaliation. I had become part of her punishment. I called her sister. She answered cautiously. Is Claire there? I asked. Yes. But she's not ready to talk. I don't want to pressure her. I need to know she's okay. There was a pause. She's not fine, her sister said. She hasn't slept through the night since she ended it with him. She jumps at loud noises. Cries during commercials. She feels guilty for what happened, even though it wasn't her fault. I swallowed. I feel like I failed her. You did, she said quietly. But not the way you think. You failed by not noticing. By not asking. By letting her carry this alone. But you're here now. That counts for something. When can I see her? I'll ask. No promises. Thank you. I hung up. Went to the basement. Pulled out the old shoebox where we kept memories, ticket stubs, dried flowers, notes. At the bottom, I found a folded piece of paper. A list. Titled, Reasons I Love Daniel. Handwritten. In Claire's script. He laughs at his own jokes even when no one else does. He remembers how I take my coffee. He sings off-key in the shower. He held my hand during my mom's funeral. He makes me feel safe. He never makes me feel stupid for crying. He believes in me, even when I don't. I read it until my vision blurred. And then I cried. Not quietly. Not privately. Full body, gasping sobs. For her. For me. For everything we'd lost. For everything I'd broken. Because yes, Mark had manipulated her. But I had abandoned her. And abandonment is its own kind of violence. 2 days later, Claire called. Voice soft. Tired. I got your message at the station. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. It's okay. I wouldn't have believed me either. Can I see you? Silence. Then, I don't know if I can be near you yet. Not without remembering everything. I understand. But I want to try therapy. Couples counseling. With a specialist in trauma and infidelity. My breath caught. You do? Yes. Because I still love you. And I want to heal. But it won't be quick. And it won't be easy. And you'll have to be patient. With me. With yourself. I will. And you'll have to forgive me. I already do, I said. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. No, she said. It should hurt. It should. We arranged to meet with Dr. Lillian Cho, a therapist recommended by the detective. Specializes in intimate partner trauma. First session, 1 week from now. Individual sessions first. Then joint ones, if we both agreed. The week passed like a fever dream. I cleaned the house. Planted new lavender. Fixed the porch step that had been loose for months. Wrote a letter to Rachel. I misled you. I used my pain to create false intimacy. That was unfair. You deserved honesty. You deserved better. I'm getting help. I hope you find peace. And I'm truly sorry. I didn't expect a reply. I didn't get one. But sending it lifted a weight. I also met with a men's support group, weekly meetings for people dealing with betrayal, grief, and emotional recovery. Most were divorced. Some were angry. Others broken. I listened more than I spoke. But when I finally did, I said, my wife was coerced into an affair. And instead of supporting her, I retaliated. I wanted her to feel the pain I felt. But I didn't realize she was already drowning. And now I have to live with the fact that I kicked her while she was underwater. No one judged me. One man said, guilt isn't the enemy. Stagnation is. As long as you're willing to change, you're not the man you were. I held on to that. The first therapy session with Dr. Cho was individual. Claire went first. I waited in the lobby of a quiet office park in Westerville, flipping through a decade-old magazine. When she came out, her eyes were red. She didn't look at me. Walked past. I respected that. Then it was my turn. Dr. Cho was in her 50s, calm presence, warm but firm. She asked me to describe the moment I found the text. I did. Then she asked, what did you feel in that moment? Humiliated. Why? Because I thought she chose someone else over me. And now? I hesitated. Now I think she didn't choose anything. She was scared. And I wasn't there. Do you blame yourself? I blamed her at first. Then I blamed Mark. Now. I blame the silence. Mine. Hers. Society's. We are taught to suffer quietly. To not burden others. And that silence created space for a predator to thrive. She nodded. Good insight. But I still feel angry. That's okay. Anger protects. But don't let it become a war. Grief leaves behind anger. Let it in. I did. We talked for 50 minutes. About my father, who never showed emotion, who said men don't cry, and how I learned to bury feelings. About how I equated strength with silence. About how I mistook Claire's withdrawal for disinterest, instead of trauma. When I left, I felt raw. But lighter. Like I'd exhaled after holding my breath for months. Claire and I didn't speak for 3 days after our individual sessions. Then she texted. Dr. Cho says we can try a joint session next week. If you're ready. I am. I'm scared. Me too. But I miss you. My chest ached. I miss you more than I can say. The joint session was the hardest hour of my life. We sat on opposite sides of the couch. Dr. Cho in her chair, notebook open. She asked Claire to describe what happened from the beginning. She did. Quietly. Precisely. Mark complimenting her in meetings. Lunches that started innocent. The slow escalation. The photo. The threats. The fear. Then she turned to me. Daniel, how do you hear this? I looked at Claire. Really looked. Not at the woman who sent the text. But the woman who endured them. The woman who carried this secret alone. I feel sick, I said. Not at you. At him. At myself. At the world for making it so hard to ask for help. Claire started to cry. I wanted to reach for her. But I didn't. Dr. Cho said, touch only if invited. So I sat still. But I said, I'm so sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I made you feel like you had to hide. She whispered, I didn't know how. We'll learn, I said. Together. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a beginning. Over the next month, we attended weekly sessions. Individual and joint. We learned about trauma bonding. Coercion. Grooming. How predators isolate their victims. How shame silences them. We wrote letters, to each other, to ourselves, to the versions of us before all this happened. I wrote one to the man who saw the text and froze. You didn't fail because you hurt. You failed because you acted from pain instead of love. But you can still choose differently. You can still show up. You can still stay. Claire wrote one to herself during the affair. You weren't weak. You were surviving. And one day, you'll be free. And you'll be believed. We didn't move back in together. Not yet. But we had dinner once a week. Walked in the park. Talked about books. Avoided heavy topics. Let the ordinary moments rebuild trust. One evening, as we left the diner, not Sandy's, a new one, she slipped her hand into mine. I didn't pull away. Neither did she. We walked like that for 6 blocks. Didn't say a word. But everything shifted. Mark was arrested 2 months after Claire reported him. Charges, invasion of privacy, harassment, attempted extortion. His wife filed for divorce. He lost his job. No bail. Claire testified. I sat in the courtroom. Watched her speak, clear, steady, unbroken. When it was over, reporters waited outside. One asked her, how do you feel now that justice has been served? She looked at me. Then said, justice isn't a verdict. It's rebuilding. It's choosing to believe in love again, even when it's been broken. I took her hand. We walked away together. Today, we are separated, but not apart. We live in different homes. See Dr. Cho every other week. Talk every day. Sometimes about deep things. Sometimes about nothing. We are learning how to be honest. How to ask for help. How to sit with discomfort instead of running. People ask if we'll get back together. I don't know. Maybe. But not the same way. We can't go back. Too much has changed. But maybe that's the point. Love isn't about returning to who you were. It's about growing into who you need to be. And right now, we are becoming people who don't hide. Who don't punish. Who don't assume. People who listen. Who stay. Who fight, not against each other, but for each other. And if that's possible, then maybe, just maybe, we'll find our way home. We moved back in together on a rainy Tuesday in October. Not with fanfare. Not with promises. Just 2 suitcases, a shared umbrella, and silence thick with hope and fear. I opened the front door of our house, the one we bought 5 years ago, fixed up with sweat and dreams, and stood there for a long moment, hand on the knob. Claire stood behind me, her breath visible in the cold air. You go first, she said. So I did. The house smelled like dust and lavender. She'd had it cleaned, but no one had lived here since she left. The furniture was still ours. The photos still on the walls. The dog bed empty, though Max, our old golden retriever, had passed last winter. I'd forgotten how much space silence takes up in an empty home. She stepped in behind me, set her back down. We didn't hug. Didn't kiss. Just looked at each other like we were seeing one another for the first time since everything broke. And maybe we were. Because the people who walked out of this house months ago weren't the same ones walking back in. We were scarred. Wiser. More fragile. But still standing. We didn't sleep in the same bed that night. Old habits die hard, even when they're protective ones. I took the guest room. She stayed in ours. But before I turned off the light, I heard her voice from the hallway. Daniel. Yeah. Thank you for coming back. I didn't come back, I said. I came forward. A pause. Then, softly, me too. The first few weeks were quiet. Not awkward. Not tense. Just careful. Like we were learning to walk again after a long illness. We kept separate toothbrushes. Ate dinner together, but didn't rush. Talked about small things, weather, books, news, because big things still carried landmines. One night, I found her crying in the kitchen. Not sobbing. Just tears, silent and steady, as she washed the wine glass. I didn't ask what was wrong. I just filled a second glass with water, set it beside her, and leaned against the counter. After a while, she said, I keep thinking about the hotel. I nodded. The way he touched me. The way I smiled. It wasn't real. But my body remembered how to perform. And sometimes I hate myself for that. You weren't performing for him, I said. You were surviving. Your body did what it thought it had to do to stay safe. She looked at me. Do you believe that? I do, I said. And I'm sorry I ever made you feel like you had to earn forgiveness for surviving. She put the glass down, turned off the faucet. Then she reached for my hand. Held it. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt peace, not because the pain was gone, but because we were finally facing it together. We kept going to therapy. Dr. Cho didn't let us off easy. In one session, she asked, Daniel, what are you most afraid of losing now? I didn't hesitate. Her trust. That even if she stays, she'll never fully believe I won't punish her again. Claire looked at me. I'm afraid I'll never stop feeling guilty. That every time you look at me, you see the woman who betrayed you, even though I didn't choose it. Dr. Cho said, guilt and fear will always visit. But they don't have to move in. You get to decide what stays. We started writing letters again, not to process pain, but to rebuild love. Every Sunday night, we exchanged handwritten notes. No rules. No limits. Just truth. Here's one I wrote. Dear Claire. Today, I saw a woman at the grocery store laughing with her husband. Nothing special. Just unloading groceries, joking about forgetting the ice cream. But I watched them. And I realized, I want that. Not because it's perfect. But because it's ordinary. Because it's safe. Because it's real. I want to be the man who makes you laugh at nothing. Who remembers your coffee. Who holds your hand in parking lots. I don't need grand gestures. I just want to earn your peace, one quiet moment at a time. I love you. Not despite what happened. But because of how we're choosing to heal. Daniel. She wrote back. Dear Daniel. Last night, I dreamed I was trapped in the hotel room again. Mark was there. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. Then you walked in. Not angry. Not vengeful. Just you. You took my hand and said, I know you didn't want this. I'm here. And I woke up crying, not from fear, but relief. Because you are here. Not to save me. But to stand beside me. That means more than any apology, any promise. I don't know if I'll ever feel completely free. But I feel safe with you. And for now, that's enough. Claire. We taped those letters to the fridge. Below the old note she'd left years ago, got milk. A reminder that love isn't erased by trauma. It's transformed by it. 6 months after we moved back in, we got a letter from Mark's lawyer. He was pleading guilty to all charges. Sentencing scheduled for November. Claire didn't have to testify again. But she wanted to. I need to say it out loud, she told me. Not for him. For me. So I went with her. We sat in the same courtroom. Same bench. Only this time, she held my hand. When she spoke, her voice didn't shake. I was not an adulterer, she said. I was a victim of emotional coercion and sexual exploitation. I did not consent to that photo. I did not choose that relationship. I endured it because I was afraid of exposure, of humiliation, of losing my marriage. But the cruelest lie I believed was that I deserved it. That my silence meant complicity. Today, I reject that lie. I am not ashamed. I am angry. And I am free. The judge sentenced Mark to 3 years in prison, suspended to 18 months with probation, mandatory counseling, and permanent registration as a sex offender. It wasn't justice for everything. But it was accountability. On the steps of the courthouse, reporters swarmed. One asked me, "How do you feel about the outcome?" I looked at Claire. Then said, "Relieved. But not vindicated. Punishing him won't heal her. Only time and care can do that. My job isn't to hate him. It's to love her." She squeezed my hand. We walked away. That night, we lit a fire in the backyard. Burned copies of the worst text. Printouts of the blackmail messages. Photos we'd used as evidence. Watched them blacken and curl in the flames. No speeches. No drama. Just release. Later, we lay on blankets under the stars. She rested her head on my chest. I ran my fingers through her hair. After a long silence, she said, "Do you think we'll ever have kids?" I hadn't expected that. We talked about it once, years ago, and decided against it. Now, I said, I don't know. Maybe not biologically. But I could imagine being a father. To a foster child. An adopted one. Someone who needs a safe place. She smiled. I'd like that. We'd be older. So. We'd be present. I kissed the top of her head. We would. A year after I found that first text, Claire and I renewed our vows. Not in a church. Not with guests. Just us. At sunrise, on the banks of the Scioto River. We wrote our own ceremony. No obey. No, till death do us part, as a threat. Instead. I choose you, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. Because you have been broken and still show up. Because you have caused pain and taken responsibility. Because you have survived and refused to become cruel. I promise to see you, not just the joy, but the scars. To listen before judging. To stay when it's hard. To forgive when I'd rather remember. This is not a promise of forever. It is a promise to try, every day, to love you better than I did the day before. We didn't exchange rings. We already wore them. But we placed smooth stones in each other's hands, collected from the riverbed. Keep this, she said. When you doubt us, hold it. Remember this morning. Remember the light. I do. Every day. People still ask us how we made it. At parties. At support groups. Even strangers, when Claire speaks publicly about coercive control. They want a formula. A secret. There isn't one. But if I had to name the things that saved us, I'd say. Truth. Not just hers, but mine. Admitting I retaliated. That I failed. That I was capable of cruelty. Time. Healing doesn't obey schedules. We didn't rush reconciliation. We allowed grief to exist without demanding it fix itself. Therapy. Not a cure. But a compass. Dr. Cho didn't tell us what to feel. She taught us how to be with what we felt. Patience. With each other. With ourselves. Some days, one of us would regress, snap, withdraw, cry for no reason. The other learned to say, "It's okay. I'm here," instead of, "What's wrong with you?" And love, not as passion, but as action. Love as choosing to make tea even when you're angry. Love as reading the same book so you have something to talk about. Love as sleeping on the couch when the other has a nightmare and just needs space. Love as saying, "I don't know how to help, but I'm not leaving." 2 years after the affair ended, Claire published a memoir. Tangled Loyalty, a story of coercion, silence, and survival. I helped her edit it. She let me read every word. There's a chapter about me. Not just the pain I felt, but the ways I failed. And the ways I changed. She wrote, Daniel didn't save me. I saved myself. But he chose to stay. And staying, when everything tells you to run, that is its own kind of courage. When the book launched, I stood in the back of the bookstore, heart pounding. She looked out at the crowd. Found me. Smiled. Said, this story isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who's ever loved someone through their brokenness, and found their own healing in the process. Afterward, someone asked me, were you angry that she wrote about your mistakes? No, I said. I was proud. Because honesty is the foundation of trust. And without trust, love is just memory. We still fight. Of course we do. Last month, I forgot our therapy anniversary. She was hurt. I was defensive. We didn't speak for 2 days. Then I showed up at her office, with her favorite coffee, a handwritten apology, and the river stone in my palm. She cried. I cried. We sat in her car and talked for an hour. No fixes. Just repair. That's the work now. Not perfection. Not forgetting. But returning. Again and again. To each other. Sometimes, late at night, I still dream about that text. Miss you already. Last night was perfect. But now, the dream changes. I don't see Claire smiling in a hotel. I see her sitting alone in a dark room, clutching her phone, tears on her face. And I walk into the dream. Sit beside her. Take her hand. Say, I believe you. I'm here. And she looks at me. And whispers, you came back. And I say, I never left. And for the first time, I mean it. I used to think love was a promise. Now I know it's a practice. One we wake up and choose every morning. Some days, it's easy. Some days, it feels impossible. But we keep choosing it. Not because we're heroes. But because we're human. And humans break. And heal. And love, somehow, against all odds, finds a way back.